What's up, everyone? Joe, Decks and Drafts, in the door. Probably see Hazel. It's about to be her birthday. She's clearly excited. Good girl. Turning 1. Anyway, today I figured we would talk a little Final Fantasy. Ha! It's called a bait and switch. Get used to it. I will do some this later, but it's Decks and Drafts. I gotta mix this up. These aren't the only decks I like to play with. Anyway, ooh, that came out wrong. Probably, yeah. Yeah, it's probably a little dirty. Whatever. Anyway, I got a slidey pack, though. Always a slidey pack in the Flesh and Blood boxes. I will do those openings another day. Super excited. But anyway, yes. Let's talk a little Final Fantasy today. And introduce you to this game if you haven't seen it before. For those of you who are even mildly interested, or saying the meme of, wait, Final Fantasy has a card game? That's literally a meme. That's not a good thing, but we'll talk about that. Recently, Final Fantasy has released their FF14 Shadowbringers Duel Decks. So I figured we could spend a little time going over these bad boys, and I'll crack them open. I haven't actually seen what's inside of them. I know what the starter cards are, but I don't actually remember what the rest of the decks are. So we can talk a little bit about that if you know the game. I'll share my thoughts on it. I will warn you at the beginning. I'm not a great player. At least I don't think I am. But I'll talk about my knee-jerk reactions. In the meantime, we can also show off some of the kick-ass fucking art on top of the amazing card stock. For those of you who have not seen the Final Fantasy card game. And are for some reason still here. Thank you for watching. But anyway, that's gonna be the to-do list today. Is we're gonna crack these decks and take a look at them. But it is Decks and Drafts, so of course we've got to have the drafts. That's important. Beer of the day. If you saw, I did a box opening for beer. So check out that video if you want to see what I've got a little bit of drinking I got going on. We're doing the Flying Fish Brewing Company. I'm super excited to try out the double, which is, what in the world is it? I don't remember. That's right, cherry, fig, chocolate, molasses. It sounds like it's going to be pretty awesome. So, glass for the day, Fort Collins Brewery. Rest in peace, Fort Collins Brewery. We miss you. You were fantastic. Anyway, I got to crack this open with my keys, because of course I have a keychain, or of course I have a bottle opener on my keychain. That was the dog. And yeah, let's get this bad boy going. It's a much better pour. I don't even know if it got on camera. That's better. All right, let's try this bad boy. Okay. All those things are there. Totally dig that. Probably a little warmer than it needed to be. It's been sitting in the garage. Anyway, Final Fantasy FF14 decks. Let's get this bad boy going. Alright, first things first, let's talk about the mat, because I have a Final Fantasy mat, finally. I also have a Flesh and Blood mat, which I'm super excited about. But yes, Garden Festival 2021, courtesy of FFTCG Denver. Brandon and the crew down there ran a little event. I got my ass handed to me, but my buddy Jeremy didn't, so we got a mat, which is awesome. And I love it. I'm a fan. Yay, FF8. Anyway, let's get some decks going. Bad guys. Good guys. Somewhere close to that. Fucking great guys. Yeah, buddy. Okay, let's down this. Okay, let's do bad guys first. So, like I said, dual decks for Shadowbringers. Emmett Selk and his crew. Crystal Exart. These are the Scions. These are good guys, basically. Usually these are going to be 2-color decks. I think this is Ice... Oh, God. I don't even remember. Ice Fire? Earth Lightning? Whatever. You'll see it as we go through it. Usually these come with three starter cards. So this is, in fact, Emmett is a starter card. You can see kind of in the bottom corner with the S, or the bottom middle with S. When he enters the field, I can pay 4. If I do search for a backup, it costs 4 or less. Backup is kind of like the Final Fantasy version of mana. It's just that mana that does shit also. And it's fantastic. Play it onto the field. So he's basically there to be like, hey, I can also search for somebody awesome, like a Devout, as an example. So he also comes in this cool full art. Not all these are full arts, but we do love when we get the full arts. And the foils. The other thing, actually, so before I open this, I also want to show this to you. just because if you're curious about the game, just the quality of the cards are absolutely incredible. So this is a card stock. This is a 50 card deck. This is 50 cards of Flesh and Blood. Check this shit out. Just this is how they compare as far as the card stock. Same number of cards. Absolutely insane. Absolutely incredible card quality with Final Fantasy. You also don't get too much of the foiling problem with the bendy foils. So super cool. Anyway, you do kind of have to crack these guys a little bit. Right, so we got ourselves Emmett, and then yeah, so foily, not foily full art, and then you get non-foil, not full arts, but you can kind of see how they go together. Huzzah! The glorious Titania with the most insane music ever. It is ridiculously catchy. She's another one of the starters. Again, gorgeous artwork. Only cast if you have a forward, backup, or monster and a summon in your break zone. So 3 of the other kinds of cards represented by this forward. As a forward, she's your attacker. She's trying to do damage. When she enters the field, 2 characters opponent controls, dull them and freeze them. Basically, tap them and they can't untap the next turn. Basic way to put that. Get 3 of her, which is awesome. Get another Emmett. You can have 3 of a serial number in a deck, unless the card, I don't think there's any cards that say otherwise. But yeah, and also these are from the actual set, so this is actually a rare in Opus 12, which has already been released. So chosen by summons or abilities, he's remove him from the game, play Emmett Selk onto the field at the end of the turn. So basically move him off, don't talk to me, don't touch me, and he comes back, which is always nice anytime you have a flicker. And then when he enters the field, I can pay, that looks like 1 ice symbol, an ice. Select one of the 2, break a dude, basically kill it, or choose one of your dudes to come back. So I like these. They did these 4 costs for 9,000 power. This is you see that like Titania has 8 and 7. It's just like your normal attack and defense in Magic, just with zeros at the end of it. All right, so 3 Emmett Selks, which is always nice. Conjurer, okay, this is our backup. Job standard using the break zone, add it to your hand. So he basically just pulls things into your hand. Thing I like about this game also is that there's no card that's wasted. So cards like Conjurer, if I have it in my hand and I don't really want to play him, I can actually discard him from my hand to get 2 currency, essentially, 2 resources to pay for the cost of the card I do want to play in this element. So if I wanted to cast like a Titania, if I have these 2 in my hand, I say I want to play Titania, I can discard the Conjurer to play Titania because she costs 2. So I love those games. Flesh and Blood is similar, where no card is kind of wasted in your hand. Everything has value, which is fan-frickin-tastic. Anyway, so a couple Conjurers. Bard. All the bards are terrifying. Each player discards cards. Discard is a thing in this game. It completely screws up tempo. More bards, even better. Bard in the break zone, freeze somebody. So yeah, like I said, backups are kind of like your mana. They sit there back here while your forwards are up here, actually the ones doing the damage. It's a game to 7. Any amount of damage that a dude does to you is just 1 damage. And then these are mana to pay for things. So this can count for 1, or I can discard a card from my hand to count as 2, or I can do a combination of I spend 1, 2, 3 to play for a Conjurer. And I have this extra, next turn I get even more mana. So that's basically how the game works. On top of all the shenanigans of when people come into the game itself. So, all right, let's blast this a little bit quicker, and I will kind of talk more about the game itself. I don't want to get into what each one of these does. I do see this deck does have some discard shenanigans. Flan is also a discard shenanigans, and he goes and finds himself, which that's basically how Emmett works too. You just go and find yourself. Philia, another starter. This thing's a monster. 8 cost. 8. I discard a card for 2, so I have to discard 4 from hand if I wanted to play it, or if I've got my board. If he's dealt damage by an ability, not to be confused with summon, which is basically like an instant, damage becomes 0. When he enters the field, deal 10,000 damage to everybody. Badoosh. Potential board wipe, including your side of the board, including himself, I assume. Philly enters the field, 10,000 all forwards. Doesn't say not themselves, so, and then he deals you a point of damage. Remember, it's a game to 7, so these are big things. But we get 3 of those. Great. Banjit. Cost required to pay him is reduced by 1 for each backup you control. That's nice. When he enters the field, deal forward 8,000 damage. Squish. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Gaius, he's from an earlier set. Find a card name. Find some of the card names that I assume we're going to have more of in this. When he or a category 14 enters your field, choose a forward component controls, deal at 3,000 damage. So with all these being category 14, which you can see there, every time one of them comes into play, he's just pinging a forward for damage. That's pretty solid. Can't complain. Also, these EX bursts, so if you're not familiar with the game, EX burst is a catch-up mechanic. When you are dealt damage, you have your deck, you actually flip the top card of the deck as damage. 7 of those ends the game. If you get one with an EX burst in damage, this effect happens without this enters the field. So instead of enters the field, that doesn't matter. The X burst says you may search for one card name of such and such and add it to your hand. It's a great catch-up mechanic in this game. It has turned the tide many times in some of my own games. I absolutely love it. I think it's a great mechanic. Nail, oh boy. Legendary, not quite the same legendaries as your Flesh and Blood, but we get him in cool full art as well. He goes and he basically just comes in and he can raffle stomp everybody. I like that. We got 2 of him. Ritalin, I call him Ritalin. I think it's Ritalin. Ritalin. His name is Ritalin. Must control a category 14 forward. So yeah, it's just everybody's playing off of these category 14 forwards. Another neat part of the game is if you like a game like FF9 is my favorite. I built a deck around FF9. They really work with each other well. It's pretty awesome. All right, more backups. Enter the field. Dudes get haste and brave. Cards have summoning sickness, so haste of course gives haste. Yotsuo. Dudes can't block. Always a nice mechanic. Black Mage. Choose a forward, deal at 5,000 damage, so a little poke damage. Ifrits. These are your summons, so they're kind of like instants. You can play them whenever. They do their effects. This also has that big glorious X burst, so if you flip it over as damage, then you get to do, what, 7,000? 7,000 to a dude. If he comes from an X burst, so if he's flipped over as damage, you get to do even more. So I get to just be, hey, Titania hit me. That sucks. In comes Ifrit as damage. Murdered. Dead. Nice things about X burst also is there's no reaction time. You can't be like, oh, I boost your power. No, you don't. No, that's not how that works. And lastly, Innocence. So we've got ice, fire, and then this is light, is the elements. If you've played Shadowbringers, really the bad guys are light. That's the point. Innocence is pretty nuts if I remember. 4 cost for 9 thou. Brave, which basically is vigilance for magic, doesn't tap to attack. If you have the same card in the break zone, that's your discard pile. Innocence, you can spend a fire to deal a forward 10,000 damage, just murder them. Or ice. Spend an ice, opponent discards 2 cards from their hands, and you can only use that once per turn because that's nuts. That is disgusting tempo. So, yeah, okay. Innocence, super cool. There you go. That's your deck. Looks like it's just 14 playing off each other. Red's going to be doing a little bit of bombing, a little bit of removal. Ice has a little bit of control. I see a blend of freezing with the bards. I also see some discards. So really, this really just looks like a tempo. Philly is in there to just blow everything up, just in case something happens. And yeah, you probably also noticed with these. Not you. Let's see. I think this Emmett has it. This Emmett. So one of the features that they added also last time is this damage 5. A new effect happens. So if you have 5 damage when he comes into the field of your 7 to end the game, this effect comes in. These can be absolutely ridiculous. And it was a really cool mechanic when they ended it. So in cases like Philia, which does you a point of damage, it's almost advantageous for you to hit yourself. So that way you can get closer to having these awesome damage effects, of which I feel like that's the only one? Really? I feel bad saying that, and I think there's only one damage effect in this deck. And there is. So, whatever. When you deck build, there you go. I've got a Sephiroth deck where you need to do 4 points of damage, and then he just comes in and is amazing. So yeah, that's Icefire. Littlebomb.com, little removal, but the ice is just trying to be tempo control, which is usually what ice is. I think there's a lot to pull from this that will go greatly into other decks as well. You know, some of the 14 stuff, it requires each other, but it's not like I have to have certain cards to play with Emmett Selk. He works pretty well without needing other like FF14 characters. So that's your bad guys. Fighting the bad guys. Actually, fighting the bad guys is beer. Beer is always a good thing to fight. All right, we're going to go through a lot faster now that I've given you a little of the mechanics of the game. As I crack this, I actually love the crap out of this game. Over the course of a couple of videos, I know Opus 13 is coming out on March 26th, so I'm going to be doing some box openings. I definitely want to talk about where I feel FF struggles. And why they have these weird challenges like a literal meme that is, wait, Final Fantasy has a card game. They have made a lot of very poor marketing decisions, or the lack of marketing decisions. There are a few reasons for that that I'm going to explore in other videos. But to tease some of that, they banked on the IP. Banking on the IP is a good way to make sure your game does not succeed and stand the test of time. So the idea that the fact that it's Final Fantasy doesn't mean it's going to just sell itself to Final Fantasy players. That's just not a thing. You got to do a little bit more than that. Also, they really got to get off of naming conventions. I mentioned Opus 13. So if you're looking at getting into the game, like there's 13 sets. Yeah, there are. So they're actually trying to remove the numbers as well. But we'll do more stuff. Anyway, this is the Crystal X art. Attack phase during each turn, choose a forward, gets plus 2,000 power. So he's just a buffer, and then he's got that damage 5. So when you have 5 damage, when he attacks, choose a forward. If the power is less than his power, 7,000, just break a bitch. Just fucking kill him. Cool, love it. We'll get his non-foils. Earth tends to be your beefy dudes. Speaking of beef, Ishtola beef. Always good. Can't be chosen by your opponent's summon, so like that Ifrit that we just saw. 6 to play, that's expensive. Enters the field, choose a forward in your break zone. If its cost is less than or equal to the job, sign of the 7th Dawn, play it onto the field. Oh, fuck me. That's nuts. So yeah, for 6 cost, I can basically get, if this is a whole deck of Scions, which I know it is, I can get like a free 5 or a free 7 if I've got like the old Thantrid. So, okay. She's pretty nuts. She can be pretty nuts. Robon from Opus 4 enters the field. Robon just comes in and you both hit each other. That's what his job is. Choose a forward opponent controls, deal it, and Robon 9,000 damage. So he's just like, hey, I'm taking you with me. Hi, I'm here. Good chat. Little removal. I usually play him and I like buff him immediately, which is always great because he survives, the other person doesn't. 3 cost for 9,000. This is way above the curve. Usually these are like 5s. 5 cost for 9,000. Lately they've been 4 for some of the better characters, like old Emmett. Like Emmett. Here we go. 4 cost 9,000. So this would be what we would call above the curve of paying 3 costs for a 9,000 forward. Just make it some harder to kill. However, if he receives damage increases by 4,000. So he's really there to just be a beast. But an obnoxious beast. He'll probably take somebody with him. Miner, always good to see. Miners basically get stuff back from the break zone. Super useful to have those. Momodi, your little propietress. Proprietress? Oh, crap. Shoot. Okay, so I like to think that I can read. I say that. You'd think that playing card games forever. Proprietress. Sure, that's what I'm going to go with. Anyway, if you played 14, she's one of the first people you see. She gives your dudes Brave. So that way they don't tap. Always good. Creel, I've never liked this card. This is an old one. It's from Opus 6. Yeah, I've never liked it. Can't be returned to your owner's hand by summons or abilities. Neat. It's cute. I would much rather have things that just you can't target, but Earth doesn't really have a lot of that hexproof stuff, so you've got Creel. Oh my god. The gorgeous Minfilia. Look at that. Thing I love about this game is they commission art. Like, they work with Final Fantasy artists to do stuff unique to the game. So you get gorgeous shit like this. I know I've seen it as a playmat. She's also a searcher. She gets more scions, but just woof, woofa. Love it. Love it. I'm a fan. And I get 2 of those. Wow. She's a legendary too. That's basically as high as you go in Final Fantasy for rarity. All right, so we've got the Earths out of the way. Let's do some lightning. Iriange, more Scions, Science of the Seven Dawn. So this deck is all about just beefing up your Scions. The Scions work together. Naturally, it makes it a little hard to have them work outside of a Scions deck. But when he enters the field, top 2 cards of the deck, add a category 14 character. Forward, backup, monster. Those are characters. And return the rest. So, hey, for 2, he gets you a card in your hand. That's some good utility. Gets 3 of those. Thani, Thanalana, Thancred, the Gunbreaker version. Job Scion enters the battlefield, and a turn, Thancred gets 2,000 power, haste, and brave. So, hey, I got a partner. He gets beefy. God, I think it's the first time we've seen this. For those new to the game, this basically means Blasting Zone. If I discard a card named Thancred and tap him, I get to do this. Choose a forward, deal its damage equal to Thancred's power. It's kind of like how they handled limit breaks in the game. Old FF7 limit breaks, or, you know, trance or whatever. So you can build a Thancred deck and just have a ton of those. Lightning is notorious for, I've got 18 lightnings in the deck, and they all do things when I discard her. Pretty solid. Pretty solid. Speaking of, another Thancred. Different type. I'm going to grab a beer. Sign 7th Dawn, other than Thancred, gets 1,000 power. If you receive damage while dull, damage is reduced by 2,000. So he's just, hey, he encourages him to swing. And it's harder to kill him when he's dull. Always nice. Dragoons. Dragoon decks are all the rage. If you guys like Dragoons, you should totally look at Final Fantasy, because Dragoon decks are fucking nuts. Enters the field, another forward gains first strike. First strike is the same as you know first strike to be. Fucking slaughter people first. Alphino, the little loudmouth. When he attacks, dull everybody with power equal to or inferior. So dull, tap, they can't block anymore. Good chat. Is there not? There's got to be an Alice backup. You wouldn't make a Science deck without Alice. Enters the field, loses 4,000 power till end of turn. Louis Sois will find an Alphino or Alice. Thanks, Dad. I don't even know if he's Dad. I don't think he is. I think he's just mentor. That's what I get. I've played the game, but there are details I just didn't listen to. Black Mage. Here's some removal. Choose an active forward, one who's untapped. Blow it up. Blow it up hard. There's Alice. Alphino gets some extra power. I honestly think Alphino should be weaker if Alice is on the field, because she always knocks him down a peg. And then Alphino gets haste. So I take the Alphino, I get Alphino, throw him on the field. Where are you little bastard? There he is. Throw him on the field, he gets haste so he can swing immediately, and then everybody who has 5,000 or less power fizzles. They dull. And then I see there's plenty of cards to beef up Scions. So the idea with this is clearly to get Alphino to drop, power him up, and then just dull everybody and swing like crazy. Can't complain about that. Rama. So here's your summon. Loses 7,000 power. If he's an X-Burst, he loses 8,000 power. So it's basically like the Ifrit. Just loses power. And then lastly, the Oracle of Light. Again, more gorgeous art commissioned for this. Do we not have a full art of this? Oh, that's unfortunate. We didn't get one of Innocence either, so that's okay. Scions get plus 2,000 power. So yeah, she definitely works with Scion decks. When she's put from the field into the break zone, remove her from the game. Get a Job Scion. Any of them. And play it onto the field dull. So she dies. I'm going to remove her from the game. And I'm going to get Ishtola, who's going to get me somebody from the break zone. And that's some good synergy. So this looks a little swarmy. Everybody's really hard to kill. And, you know, everybody just beefs each other up, and given that they're hard to kill, and then you got things like the Oracle of Light, which I know you can do some shenanigans with. You know, kill her off, get her into the graveyard, play another, remove her from the game, get another one, play dudes from the break zone. Yeah, this is just a deck that's just hard to kill, and then Lightning is kind of control-y. Sort of, with Alphino, trying to do the dully crap. It's kind of the only removal also. So it feels like Lightning's just there to be maybe a little removal. But yeah, this just looks like hard to kill. So we've got Bomb.com and Dull Freeze and control the board. Big dudes that stay big, that get bigger. And that's and they're just frustrating to kill. So that's your 2 decks. And that is much longer of a video than I wanted to do, but that's what we have. So anyway, I haven't even finished the beer. I'm not going to force you guys to wait for this. Thank you guys so much for joining. And yeah, when Opus 13 comes out, I will crack a box and we'll talk more about kind of, hey, what is missing from this game? Because I think that things are missing from this game. But of course, if you want to chat more about it, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all those things. If you want to play me on Octagon, then yeah, just shoot me a message, shoot me a thing on YouTube, and I'm more than happy to get some games and grab some beers. Anyway, that's what I got for you. Cheers, mates. I don't know why I'm pointing like out there off into the distance. You right there. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Have a good one.